Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on, where are we, Thursday, 2 days away from the FA Cup, getting underway 3 days away from Arsenal taking on Nottingham Forest at the City Ground. 5:30 kickoff. I think that one is going to be a cold one. I imagine it is freezing out there today. Not that you really care about that, do you? A few things to talk about today. I wanted to start today's video by talking a little bit about Aaron Ramsey, because I've been inundated with messages from you guys across my various social medias asking about Aaron Ramsey. Could he be coming back to Arsenal? It was announced yesterday, Massimo Allegri, during his press conference. I think he described Ramsey as an outgoing player in his press conference, the Juventus manager. And so it appears that Ramsey is going to be leaving Juventus this month. It's safe to say it hasn't really gone too well for Aaron, has it, since he left Arsenal and joined Juventus in that free transfer a few years ago. Injuries have played their part, as seems to always be the way when it comes to Ramsey, and he just hasn't really been able to get going at all over there. And it seems like he's coming back to England, but I wouldn't be getting too excited about him coming back to Arsenal if any of you are getting excited about that prospect, because I just don't see this one happening at all. Arsenal have moved on from Aaron Ramsey. This is basically the same owners who decided, along with, at the time, people like Raul Sanllehi, he obviously isn't here anymore, that Aaron wasn't worth the new contract that he was going to be given at Arsenal, and I didn't think he warranted the sort of money that he was going to be getting. So I don't see a few injury-ridden years down the line, they're suddenly going to change their mind and give him a nice contract again and bring him back to the club. It's just not going to happen. He's going to end up somewhere like Newcastle, I imagine, or Burnley perhaps, who I saw were linked with him. But in terms of Arsenal, it just doesn't. Yes, there's a sort of romantic side of things, isn't there? Bringing back for maybe till the end of the season, Arsenal need a midfielder potentially, but I think with Ramsey and his injury issues, you just can't rely on him to play too many games in a row anymore. You couldn't really during his prime, let alone now. And I love Aaron Ramsey. Look, he's one of my favourite players of the modern era at Arsenal. Scored some crucial goals, scored one of my favourite ever Arsenal goals, that winner against Hull in the FA Cup final. Also obviously scored the winner against Chelsea in the FA Cup final as well. And I've got an awful lot of time for Aaron Ramsey, but back to Arsenal now, nah, it's just one of those ones that sounds nice perhaps to a few people, but it's realistically it's not going to happen. He's going to end up elsewhere. I mean, I'd be more willing to say that Wiltshire will return to Arsenal, given he's obviously been training and has been around the club. I think that's the more likely prospect out of the two former players actually signing a contract when it comes to Arsenal. We don't exactly know what's going to happen with Jack yet either. He's still at the club, he's still training, he was training this week, but as of yet he hasn't been given a contract and he hasn't moved elsewhere, so we'll wait and see what happens when it comes to Jack Wilshere. But out of those two, I think it's far more likely that Jack ends up playing for Arsenal again than Aaron Ramsey, and I fully expect Ramsey to come back to England. That seems to be the way things are going. And Newcastle, you feel like that's one that sort of ticks all the boxes for him. They could cover his wages, given the money that they've got. It could bring him back, put him in the shop window, even if it's a loan till the end of the season, and potentially get a move at the end of that on a permanent basis back to the Premier League. But coming back to Arsenal, it's just not going to happen, is it? Let's face it, as romantic as it would be to see Aaron Ramsey back in an Arsenal shirt, but Arsenal, you just look at the players that Arsenal are targeting in the last couple of transfer windows. Look at the transfer business they did last summer. It's pretty clear what Arsenal are trying to do now. They've said it themselves. Edu's spoken about it. Josh Kroenke's spoken about it. Vinay's spoken about it. Mikel Arteta's spoken about it. There's Arsenal's strategy now when it comes to transfers is trying to sign some of the best young talent in the world, mould them in this new team that Mikel Arteta is trying to put together. They did that last summer with great success. Yes, they need the odd senior player to play around with these youngsters, like we've seen with Thomas Partey's key to that, Granit Xhaka's key to that, Alexander Lacazette at the moment is key to that. But in terms of going out and spending big money on a player with the injury record of Aaron Ramsey, it's just not going to happen. If they do bring in a midfielder this summer, even on a short-term option, I just can't see that it's going to be him. It'll be someone else who they can rely on a little bit more than Aaron. Let me know what you think, though. Would you like to see Aaron Ramsey back in Arsenal? Is it something they should be targeting? Let me know in the comments below. I've got a pretty confident imagination about what these replies are going to be, and most of you are going to be agreeing with me and thinking Arsenal need to move on when it comes to him. In terms of what I spoke about yesterday's video, Arsenal being charged by the FA for failing to control their players, and for the reaction of the players after the 59th minute, which was a red card for Gabriel against Manchester City. Arsenal have accepted that fine. They didn't appeal it, and they've now been fined £20,000. That has been their penalty from the FA, which they will now hand over. Hopefully, you never know. As I saw someone put on Twitter, it might well pay for Stuart Atwell to go to some sort of refereeing course now to try and get him back up to speed, so this sort of thing doesn't happen again. Because yes, they reacted badly, but given the way Stuart Atwell was handling things on the pitch against Manchester City, it's no real surprise that Arsenal players lost their heads a little bit, because it was just, frankly, it was an awful refereeing performance from, frankly, an awful referee. But that's the result of that. Arsenal fined £20,000 by the FA for failing to control their players and for their reaction after that red card against Manchester City. Also news coming out of Africa right now. Obviously the AFCON starts just in a few days' time, but it seems like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is going to miss the start of the AFCON. Reports coming out of Africa that he has tested positive for coronavirus, as well as another couple of Gabon players, and will now miss the first game. Gabon's first game is on Monday, which is a big blow to him. Obviously, a big blow to Gabon's preparations, because he's a star man, he's a captain, a star striker. But it looks like he will be missing now, and you just hope that Auba will at least recover in time to play some part in the tournament. Videos going round about with showing him in a sort of look like a busy type bar type restaurant thing in Dubai ahead of the tournament, mixed in with a fair few players. A lot of people using that video obviously to have a bit of a go at Auba, but whatever happened, you just want to hope that he gets better quickly and he can play some part in the tournament. Because whatever your thoughts on the whole Aubameyang situation, he's very proud to play for Gabon, and you don't want him to miss out on a big tournament for whoever's fault it was. Whether he should be mixing, whether it was he did it without Gabon's knowledge, who knows? But hopefully Auba can get back fit relatively quickly. Hopefully he stays safe. Doesn't have too bad a reaction to this positive test, and he does get back playing for Gabon. Some good news for Martin Odegaard and Gabby Martinelli to discuss now. They have both been included in the Premier League Player of the Month nominations for December. No surprise really when you think of their performances. Martin Odegaard I thought was absolutely fantastic. I thought Martinelli was as well. To be honest, Odegaard, I think it's 6 games, 3 goals, 3 assists. It was 3 goals and 2 assists for Martinelli as well. It shows really how well Arsenal have done, that they got multiple players included in that awards list. We'll find out the winner, I think, in the next couple of days. But yeah, get voting. You can go and vote for the who you think should get it. Personally, for me, I think Martin Odegaard, Player of the Month for me. I just think he was really stepped up when Arsenal needed him, and performed really well. Scored some key goals, some good assists, was really heavily involved. You look in the chances created, stats, everything like that. It's not just goals and assists. He was way up in December. Had a really good month. So beginning to show the type of form that we all knew he could show. Certainly I was so excited about Arsenal signing him in the summer. Think he's getting better every sort of week, every day, every game. And I'm convinced Martin Odegaard's going to be a very special player for Arsenal, and they are lucky to have him. I know there was a lot of criticism over him in the first couple of months of his stay at Arsenal after that move was turned permanent, but we're certainly beginning to see exactly why Mikel Arteta was so keen to bring him back to the club in the summer and prioritised him over anyone else. Transfer-wise, not too much to report at the moment. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, we're still waiting for that move to go through with him and Roma. I spoke about it yesterday on the video. That's all pretty much done and dusted. I believe he's flying over to Italy today to complete that move. I think the medical was yesterday in England. It's just a straight loan, no option, anything like that. A lot of people sort of raise questions of why Arsenal have done that. Do you want to not guarantee yourself some money? And I can kind of understand why they've done it. You look at Joe Willock. You look at that loan that Joe Willock had to Newcastle last January. There was no option to buy it included in that one. had there been, say at the time when Joe went there, he's probably only worth about £10 million. And if Arsenal had included an option at the time to turn that move permanent for £10 or £12 million, then Newcastle would have been laughing at the end of his loan spell. Only scored all those goals, and they got him for relatively cheaply. So I think Arsenal probably learnt from that, rather than to sort of tie themselves into anything now. They can hope that Ainsley goes there, has a really good end to the season. It seems like Roma absolutely want to make that move permanent anyway, but you don't really want to tie yourself down to a certain fee now, because if he goes and plays really well, then his value is going to soar a little bit, and also that other clubs could come in from as well, and you can have a little bit of a bidding war. So I can understand why Arsenal haven't done it. I think he'll definitely go in the summer on a permanent basis. They'll sell him to someone, whether it be Roma or someone else, but for now it is just a straight loan for Ainsley. Arsenal receiving a bit of a loan fee for him, Roma covering paying wages as well. I'm not sure if they're going to pay all 100% of them, but they'll certainly be covering a large chunk of them. You'd imagine Ainsley's not going to be on big money, so you'd imagine they will be paying all 100% of his wages between now and the end of the season. So you'd hope it's a good move for Arsenal. It's certainly, I feel like it's going to be a good move for Ainsley. It's one that he really needs, and that should be finalised relatively swiftly. Like, it could even be by the end of play today, given he's flown out there to finalise things now. So that's one. Balogun, we're still waiting. It's still all points to his loan move to Middlesbrough being wrapped up relatively quickly. Whether it's today, tomorrow, next week, we'll have to wait and see when it is all finalised. But certainly people that I'm speaking to at Arsenal believe that is a transfer that will happen. He'll join them on loan until the end of the season. Again, no option will be included in that. It will just be a straight loan for him to return in the summer. Eddie Nketiah, we wait to see what happens with him. Luke Edwards, really top reporter for the Telegraph, based up in Newcastle. He's reporting that Newcastle have inquired about taking Eddie this month. Taking him this month on a permanent basis, obviously out of contract in the summer. That's an interesting one, really, because it's like, what do you do? You've got the Aubameyang situation at Arsenal. Can you afford to lose Eddie Nketiah now, even if it's... And it just leaves you really short if you're not going to sign a new striker this month, which I don't think is guaranteed at all from Arsenal. I've spoken about it many times on these videos. Arsenal want to sign a striker, but I still feel the most likely option of that is the summer. So what do you do with Eddie? If you get a bid now, do you take that bid? I mean, you could basically leave yourself with one striker and Gabriel Martinelli, because if Balogun goes to Middlesbrough, Auba situation doesn't get resolved and he doesn't play again, which we don't know what will happen, but we have to wait and see when he gets back from Gabon. And then you let Eddie go, you're basically left with Alexander Lacazette, and that's it, and hoping he's not going to get injured. You can't really do that, can you? You're just leaving yourself so short. So it'll be really interesting to see what Arsenal do with Nketiah if a proper bid does come in from a like Newcastle, really trying to tempt them, say 5, 6, 7 million for a player that they're going to end up effectively losing for free in the summer, especially if he goes abroad. So it's a really interesting one, that, and one to keep an eye on. Crystal Palace have been mentioned again when it comes to Eddie Nketiah, but Newcastle, according to Luke Edwards over at the Telegraph, have now made a formal inquiry to Arsenal about him. So one to keep an eye on. What should Arsenal do? Let me know what you think when it comes to Eddie Nketiah and the striker situation. Thank you for watching, everyone. Mikel Arteta, obviously his press conference yesterday was cancelled because the Liverpool game was called off, as we know. He will be speaking probably tomorrow. We haven't actually had notification from Arsenal yet in terms of the time of his press conference tomorrow ahead of the Nottingham Forest game this weekend, but he will be speaking at some point tomorrow. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. Until then, have a very good day. Enjoy yourself. Stay safe, and I'll speak to you soon.